I'm under a desk again, and attacks work this time. It's only been about 4 weeks since I said I'd work on them. Devlog time. So, since last time, there's been quite a bit of work done, some of which you'll be seeing now. But yes, the particles, they're being placed randomly inside and slightly outside the view. This way, you only process what you can see while also making sure that when you walk about, the edge of your screen already has particles in it. There were a few growing pains learning what would look good and learning how to program it, but right now, the effect is made up of a few parts. 1, they can fade in and out rather than just popping. 2, they have a random northward-ish direction. 3, they cannot spawn near the player or near light-emitting objects. 4, they're being pushed away from the lights from a certain radius. And then 5, the radius of this lighting changes over time to give a sort of flickery effect. As you can see, with just a few simple rules, you can end up with some rather complex-looking effects. This map is actually a remake of an older project of mine, and I think you'll all agree that it all looks much better. Still don't think this reads as flaw. The old version couldn't actually handle the details like the wall and the torch, and so maybe the pain of adding all it was worthwhile. Maybe. I've also been improving the camera. So when I was trying to get the same view in the old game, I realized it needed the ability to zoom in and out. And this had a few growing pains, but now it works pretty smoothly, as long as you count the jittering akin to the croak of an asthmatic frog to be smooth. Because I move the view's collision when I zoom, I think it causes the camera panning to freak out a bit. Well, this is a problem for another day. The view can now also have an overlay put on it, and this won't change when the camera zooms or moves about. It'll always stay in place. Currently, all I use it for is this little cinematic mode. So, for example, in the future, if something changed and you want to draw attention to it, you can cinematic, zoom over, zoom back, uncinematic. You know, cutscenes. Very useful for games. But in the future, it could be used for other things like a health or a timer, anything that needs to be put on top. Now, I also mentioned attacks at the beginning. With the new systems in place, creating a new attack was really easy, and making sure enemies could react to them, their flashing, everything, was just a few lines now, so that could easily be done for other enemies, other attacks. Although for now, everything is just shooting upwards. This definitely looks more game than it did a few weeks ago now. However, everything I have shown you thus far takes place after a very important task that I mentioned last time, and that was reworking the entire actor attack system into a new, better entity component system, or ECS. Now, unlike my system before, where attacks and actors were single, large things, even though at their heart they sort of did the same thing, an ECS has everything in the game, from effects to bosses to random crates and bushes being an entity, and you can attach various components onto it describing its behaviour. So say you wanted to add the ability for some things in your game to change colour depending on where the player is. All you would need to do would be create a component that could do it and then just slap it in there. Finally, you take these components and you run them through some systems that make the components do stuff and update them. My foot has fallen asleep. Now, my entity component system is more of an entity component system. Except not anymore. Hey, it's been 2 weeks. Let's talk about that. So, uni's back, and it's that time where a lot of coursework is due, so I'm having to spend some time doing that. Also, I'm still, working on the game, and I've been looking at things like how computer shaders work, and how I'm going to be dealing with scripting for dialogue with NPCs in my game. And there'll be videos on that pretty shortly, but I've been doing all of that instead of editing this. So yeah, it's been 2 weeks. I've actually even reworked the entire entity system. Before, it was like a container that would just hold every possible component, but now it's some of the most
beautiful high-level C++ code I've ever seen. I'm not gonna explain it, but if you know, you know. Like, this is good looking. What the fuck am I doing? Yeah, and so the rest of the video I'd recorded at 1 a.m. It was just a lot of, you know, r/I am very smart level stuff, which didn't even get used in the end. So I'll bring it up if it's used ever. But you're probably not missing anything. So a lot of small stuff this time was from adding features from my old game, my A-level project, Veil, that I couldn't do in my new engine. And so in trying to make sure that my new stuff can do everything I used to be able to do and more, I've been bringing features across. And this is stuff that game devs occasionally do. They remake old games in new engines to get accustomed to it and see what they need to change. And so for that reason, alongside everything like the shaders and the NPC scripting, I'm also going to be trying to implement everything again from Veil in this new engine, so that I get some more experience actually like making the game as opposed to just adding new stuff. Also lets me iron out any bugs, see any changes and refactors I need to do, and basically just help me figure out what I need to do before this project is finished. When the game's done, I'll stick it on GameJolt for free, or choose your own price if you wanted to donate enough to buy some like cup noodle or whatever. But until then, I'll be working on all of this aforementioned stuff, and I'll see you next time.